warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, we are from Group 3 and this video we're gonna talk about semantic analysis from the journal. And for the member of Group 3, we have Ilmi Nurhanifah, Naira Fazila Hazimah, and Suci Alifiarti. And let's go to the first material, which is introduction. Okay, for the first material is introduction. Translation, according to the Oxford Advanced Learning Dictionary, is the process of rendering the meaning of word or text from one language into another. Newmark 2001 defines translation as a process that involves both comprehension and reformulation, meaning that translator must not only understand the source text but also recreate it in target language. Monday, 2004 views translation as both process and product. As a process, translation refers to the translation role into transforming a source text into target text. As a product, it is the final translated text produced by the translator. Similarly, Hartono 2011 explained that translation is an activity of reading, understanding, and expressing the meaning of a text into another language. Therefore, understanding every word, phrase, clause, and sentence is essential for a translator to deliver an accurate message. Translation is also seen as a semantic process since it involves analyzing the meanings of words and sentences. According to Hatim and Munday, 2004, the scientific study of meaning is called semantic. Semantics deals with how words and sentences convey meaning, Said 2016. Every sentence, as stated by Anker 2009, consists of three main components: a subject, a verb, and a complete thought. A subject refers to the person, place, or things that performs the action, while the verb expresses what the subject does. In translation, especially between language with different grammatical system, verbs often play a crucial role because changes in their form can shift the entire meaning of a sentence. Langan 2010 emphasized that verbs can appear in two types of construction, active and passive voice. In active sentence, the subject performs the action, while in passive sentence, the subjects receive the action. For example, Tira ate the vanilla pudding. It's the active sentence. And for the passive one, the vanilla pudding was eaten by Tira. So in passive construction, the focus shift from Tira to the receiver of the action. Is it the pudding? Bailey 2011 notes that passive sentences are often used when the writer wants to emphasize the result rather than the cause. Several studies have examined the translation of passive sentences from English into Indonesian. Suprato 2013 found that structural shifts in translating passive sentences are often unavoidable due to differences in grammatical system, but this shift help preserve the writer intended meaning. Similarly, Widya and Ayu 2015 analyzed English passive sentences using a semantic and grammatical approach, focusing on three types: present tense, past perfect, and modal auxiliary passive. Their findings reveal that cultural context and translation shift play a significant role in producing natural and meaningful translation. From these previous studies, it can be seen that most research focuses on structural or grammatical shift rather than semantic analysis. However, examining meaning is equally important. Semantic analysis in translation studies explore how meaning is transferred, maintained, and altered during translation. It's focused not only on linguistic accuracy but also on how well the translator captured the author's intention, tone, and nuance. This makes semantics analysis crucial in literary works where style and emotional impact carry significant weight. The concept of equivalence is also essential in translation. According to Nord 2017, equivalence refers to the correspondence of ideas between the source text and the target text. Nida and Taber 2012 distinguish two main types of equivalence. There is formal equivalence and dynamic equivalence. For formal equivalence, focus on maintaining the original form and structure, while the dynamic equivalence emphasize meaning and the effect of the reader. In dynamic equivalence, change in sentence form are acceptable as long as the meaning and intention of the author remain clear. Related to this, Suryawinata 1989 classifies five types of meaning that can appear in translation. That is lexical, grammatical, textual, contextual, and sociocultural meaning. Lexical meaning refers to the dictionary definition of a word, while grammatical meanings comes from sentence structure. And textual meanings arise from relationship among sentence in text, and contextual meanings depends on the situation in which the word or phrase appears. And sociocultural meaning is influenced by the culture and social background of the text. In this study, the analysis focused on how passive sentences in English source text of The Hunger Games, Mockingjay by Susan Collins are translated into Indonesian by Hattie Rusli. The main goal is to identify what kind of meanings appear in the translation and to determine how well the translator preserved the semantic equivalence between two languages. Understanding this aspect not only highlight the translator's strategy but also contributes to better comprehension of meaning transfer in literary translation. In conclusion, translating passive sentences involves more than changing grammatical forms. It requires be careful attention to meaning, context, and emphasis. A skilled translator must balance accuracy and naturalness, ensuring that translation conveys the same ideas and emotional tone as the original text. As Larson, 1998, notes, translation is not merely about changing words, but also transferring meanings faithfully from one culture to another. Thank you.
I will present the results of a semantic analysis of passive sentence translations from English to Indonesian. Taken from a study of Suzanne Collins' novel The Hunger Games, Mockingjay and its translation by Hattie Rusli. This research focuses on analyzing passive sentence translations. The data was collected from 5 chapters of the novel, namely chapters 2, 3, 16, 17, and 26, with a total of 83 passive sentences found. The purpose of the analysis is to identify the types of meanings that appear and how the equivalence of the translation is achieved. The translations of passive sentences in this study can be categorized into 4 types of meanings. The 4 types of meaning are lexical meaning, grammatical meaning, textual meaning, and contextual meaning. Let's discuss them one by one. As we can see, contextual meaning dominates with 55%, followed by lexical meaning with 37%. Meanwhile, grammatical and textual meaning appear in smaller percentages. This provides an initial indication that translators rely heavily on context to produce natural translations. The first one is lexical meaning. In this type, the translation is done literally according to the dictionary meaning. Passive sentence structures in the search language tend to be written in the target language. For example is, he has been told. The word told, which is a passive form, is translated directly as diberitahu. In Indonesian, the prefix di in the word diberitahu functions as a passive marker, which is parallel to the functions of has been told in English. Thus, this translation strictly to the basic meaning of the word and its structure. The second is grammatical meaning. Unlike lexical meaning, translations with grammatical meaning conform to the grammar rules of the target language. Often, passive forms in the English are changed to active forms in the Indonesian to sound more natural. For example, is they're all gathered. The press are gathered, which is structurally passive, is not translated as dikumpulkan. The translator chooses the word berkumpul, which is an active verb with the prefix ber. This shift is meant to capture the meaning of berkumpul, which is more appropriate and common in the context of the sentence, demonstrating the translator's creativity in adapting grammatical rules. The third is textual meaning. In this type, the meaning of a word or phrase is not determined by a dictionary, but by its relationship to other words in the sentence or text. Translators look at the micro-context around it to find the implied meaning. For example is, we've been funneled into a class. Lexically, funnel means corong or menuang melalui corong. However, if translated that way, the result would be awkward. The translator looks at the relationship between the word funneled and into a class, thereby capturing its connotative meaning, which is the process of registering or placing someone in a group. Therefore, funneled is translated as didaftarkan to convey the meaning intended by the author. The last is contextual meaning. This type of translation depends entirely on the situation, emotions, or overall context behind a scene in the story. The translator ignores dictionary meanings to capture the nuances and intent of the author. For example is, before I'm thrown into another session. The phrase thrown into literally means dilempar ke or memulainya dengan semangat. However, the context of the previous sentence, I try to collect myself, actually describes the main character as feeling enthusiastic and forced. Translating it literally would contradict this nuance. Therefore, the translator chose the simple and natural word, which more accurately reflects the character's reluctance.
Everyone, my name is Ilmi Nur Hanifa, and in this video I want to explain about equivalence. Equivalence, according to Nida and Teber in Penuti 2012, there are two kinds of equivalence. One is formal equivalence and two is dynamic equivalence. Formal equivalence focuses on the form of the language. It means that every word in the source text is translated in the same grammatical form in the target text or TT. Meanwhile, dynamic equivalence emphasizes the meaning and the effect of message rather than its form. In this case, the translator may change the sentence structure as long as the learning and intention of the original text are naturally conveyed in Indonesian. Based on research findings from 83 passive sentences analyzed, there are three types of equivalence. First, formal equivalence with 35%, two, dynamic equivalence with with 60%, and three is no equivalence translation with 5%. From the data, it can be concluded that the translator mostly use dynamic equivalence. Formal equivalence happens when the structure and meanings of the source text are kept as close as possible in the target language. In this example, the sentence, "When that wire was cut, everything just went insane," is translated into "Saat kawat terputus, semuanya menggila." Here the verb "was cut" is translated literally into terputus, which has the same meaning and grammatical form. In the ST or search language, in the ST or search text, the passive sentence is formed using be participle, while in the TT or target text, it uses the prefix ter to form a passive verb. Both have the same grammatical category and meaning, which means this translation keeps the original structure and sense. According to Nida and Tabet in Penuti 2012, when the grammatical category in TT occupies the same position as in ST, the translation can be categorized as form equivalence. Dynamic equivalence focus on delivery the same meaning and effect rather than keeping the same grammatical form. In this example, the sentence "You are to cook up in BT's plan to electrify the Salt Lake" is translated into "Kau terlalu sibuk dengan rencana BT untuk menyetrum danau air asin itu." In the search text, "cook up in" is a stative passive verb phrase. However, in the translation, it becomes sibuk, which is an adjective in Indonesian. This change is made to make the sentence sound natural and to convey the same idea as intended by the original writer. According to Kroning in Sajarwa 2017, dynamic equivalence allows translator to be more creative and adapted the situation described in the text. Therefore, this translation belongs to dynamic equivalence because the translation changed the grammatical but keep the same meaning. Next, to no equivalence translation. As previously discussed, some translation cannot be classified as either formal or dynamic translation equivalence. The following is an example of a no equivalence. "This wasn't part of the plan. I wrote pita of win. Then I was to go to the capital, kill Slow, and get taken out myself." Ini bukanlah bagian dari rencana. Aku sudah mencoret nama Pita di distrik 2. Kemudian aku akan ke Capitol membunuh Snow dan membiarkan diriku ditangkap. The press get taken out in the ST is a passive construction that emphasizes the action. According to Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary or OALD, the phrasal verb get taken out means to kill somebody or to destroy something. In bahasa Indonesia, it can be translated as membunuh seseorang atau menghancurkan sesuatu. Next to conclusion. When translation is viewed as a process, it signifies that every word, phrase, or clause is examined scientifically to get the exact meaning of the ST writer. ST writer is search text writer. In this case, a translator has an important role in taking the original or search text and turning it into a target in another language or target text. In other words, every word, clause, phrase, or sentence has to be analyzed semantically to catch the ideas, thoughts, or the intent of that writer. In doing translation, there are two things that have to be considered: its meaning and equivalence. For this reason, this research is focused on how the translator of the novel Hunger Games, Mockingjay, translate passive sentence into Indonesian language. It is found that there are 4 types of meanings appear in the translation. 1 is lexical meaning, 2 is grammatical meaning, 3 is textual meaning, and 4 is contextual meaning. There are also 2 types of equivalence found in the English passive translation. It's formal equivalence and dynamic equivalence. However, there are also few translations that do not belong to either formal or dynamic equivalence. They are called as no equivalence translation. Next, regarding to the type of meanings, each type of meaning has its own criteria to which it belongs. The first type is lexical meaning, in which the phrasal verb in the passive sentence is translated according to its function and meaning. Every word from ST is translated into TT. Literally, this kind of translation takes 37%. The second type of meaning appeared is grammatical meaning. This type of meaning takes only 2%. It means the few phrasal verbs in passive sentence are translated by making grammatical change. The change made here is to maintain the idea of the ST writer. The next type of meaning is textual meaning. It takes 6%. Textual meaning indicates that a translator can get the exact meaning of the phrase verb by considering the text in terms of its reference or connotative meaning. The last type is contextual meaning, which has the highest percent. It takes 55%. It shows that many passive voices are translated based on the context and situation. Next, regarding to the types of equivalence, each type of equivalence also has its own criteria. The first is formal equivalence, in which short text is translated literally into target text. This type of equivalence takes 35%. The next is dynamic equivalence, in which several changes are done by the translator on purpose of maintaining the exact meaning or the writer's intention in source text. This type equivalence takes 60%, and the last is the no equivalence translation, which does not correspond both formally or dynamically. It takes only 5%. It means only few translations that do not carry the exact meaning or the source text. Writer intentions. All in all, the translation of passive sentence here are translated contextually and inclined towards due to having agreement in meaning and acceptable in TT system.